Hey everyone, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. I recently got back from a puzzle event called Puzzle Parley, which was in Rochester, New York, and I had a great time. I thought I would just share my experience with you. So we're just gonna walk through what the Puzzle Parley is and what I did there. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you stick around. And if you are new here, I would love if you subscribed, and let's just get into the video. This year marked the 30th anniversary of the first Puzzle Parley, which was founded by Paige Elliott. She was a hand-cut wooden puzzle maker, and she wanted to create this community around puzzle making. And so she founded the event 30 years ago, and she is no longer with us, but it is very cool to see that the event is still around and some of the original founders are also still present and active within the community. The whole event is really surrounded by the history and preserving the artistry of hand-cut wooden puzzle making, or just wood puzzles in general, because it has branched out into laser cut as well. So it's just, if you are a fan of wooden puzzles, this is a great event to attend. Or if you just want to learn about puzzle history, also a great one to attend. So I'm just going to go day by day of what I did and other activities that were available. I will say, going into this, I was not prepared for this event. It was a very last minute thing for me to attend. When I went to purchase my tickets, I noticed a lot of things were sold out. My goal was to get there Wednesday night, so that way Thursday I had the full day to do the tours in the museums that I wanted to on my own. A few things happened. First up is that there was a giant storm in New York. So there was a couple airports that were shut down due to weather circumstances, which was quite the bummer because I spent a whole night in Logan Airport. Now, I had wished I had known that the flight was canceled before I checked in my luggage, because I would have just rented a car and drove there, because it was only a 6-hour drive. But I didn't know until it was too late that my luggage was already checked in. I didn't know where they could find it, and so I ended up having to stay the night at Logan Airport, which was not my favorite thing, but I was able to fly into Rochester the next morning at around 10 o'clock is when I arrived at the hotel. So I was originally planning on spending Thursday doing fun things around the area, but I actually spent the day settling in, taking a nice long nap, and going grocery shopping so that I could have food in my room. So come Thursday evening, I ended up going down to the puzzle floor event. So they rented out the ballroom as well as another room, which was for casual puzzling. And so when I went down there, it was pretty low key. People were just puzzling and hanging out and taking pictures with each other. I did meet a couple ladies, Ula and Virginette, and we ended up starting to puzzle together, and we did a couple stone crafts throughout the event. I also was able to meet the owners of the brand, which are Canadian, which is super fun, and I thought it was a great evening. We just casually puzzled, and some people did go to a Strong Museum tour. I just didn't do that because I was exhausted from the night before and wanted to catch up on my sleep. So we ended up starting the puzzle Queen Bee, which I'll put it here on the screen. It is this little bear with a ton of flowers, and if you are new to their puzzle cut, it's wild. In general, the hand-cut wooden puzzles or laser cut puzzles tend to have a busier type of piece cut, and it can be quite tricky. They say that sometimes a hand-cut wooden puzzle has the same difficulty as a cardboard puzzle that has twice the amount of pieces. Some of these puzzles, even though they're smaller piece counts, were quite tricky. This one was around 500 pieces, and it was so beautiful at the end. So we started it Thursday night. We didn't finish it until Friday. Moving into Friday, which is a very busy day in the actual start of the event. So after registration, getting our little goodie bag and our badges, I was able to go to the casual puzzling room, did some puzzling with some friends, met some people, took a lot of pictures. We ended up doing a few different puzzles that day, which included the Queen Bee, which we finished. We also did Beach Walk, which is also by Stumpcraft, which was a beautiful puzzle as well. So bright and colorful, much easier than the other one. I think it only had like 240 pieces, so a lot easier to do. We also did this other puzzle, which I did not take a picture of the box, and I cannot find it on their website. So if you happen to know the name of this puzzle, let me know. But it is a picture about the Rocky Mountains, and it is absolutely stunning. I love this one so much. Of course, you guys see the sky. I didn't do much of the sky, but it was a beautiful puzzle to do. And then I also was able to sit down with the owner of Elms, which is a hand-cut wooden puzzle brand that the hand cutters actually live in Maine, right near where I grew up, which is so cool. It was a very busy morning of just casually puzzling and chilling with other puzzlers in the room. And then we ended up going to a bunch of presentations. So we went into the ballroom, which had a ton of different tables. We were able to sit down and listen to a presentation from all the different cutters that were a part of the puzzle exchange. So this is something that they did for Paige Elliott, where it's almost like a potluck almost, where the hand-cut puzzlers will have to create puzzles for each person who's participating, and then they go home with all the other puzzles. This year there was 13 makers who were in the exchange, and we actually saw a presentation where each one went through their puzzle that they designed, and the goal for them this year was to try to do something that's out of the norm, that was difficult for them, something they hadn't done before. And it was really interesting to learn about all the ins and outs of wood puzzle making. There's a lot of different issues that they came about. You could hear their process from start to finish, things that they had to tweak, things that they had to change, things that didn't go the way they wanted to, and then to see the final results, you're like, wow, that took a lot of effort. So I did actually purchase a couple that were a part of the exchange, and it was so cool to just learn about. We also get to see all the puzzles that were up for a vote to see best in show. So these are from puzzle makers who are putting like the best of their artistry up on display, and we kind of voted on who won, and that was really fun as well, to see again the craftsmanship and how much work went into those puzzles is absolutely stunning. After we had the little presentations, we had dinner, which was delicious, and then also I went into the casual puzzling room afterwards, which I finally got up the nerve to sit down with Karen Puzzles herself and do some of a puzzle. So there was a 1,850 piece Par puzzle available for us to do. The owners of Par was actually there, and as part of his collection, he had never done it. He got it secondhand, and they had expected that the puzzle was made in the 1950s, 1960s, just based off of information on the box. I'll put the picture of the box here because I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to say for the title. I would love to know your guesses. I feel like I couldn't quite see it, but the puzzle itself was stunning. So they had started it the night before. I joined in when it was about halfway done, and it was so beautiful. The little figural pieces was absolutely stunning. And if you are new to Par puzzles like I am, I really wasn't quite sure what the big deal was, because it's kind of one of those brands that's like so far out of your reach financially that I don't even think about it, but it is such a beautiful hand-cut wooden puzzle brand where they really catered towards luxury celebrities to have. So they're like incredibly expensive, beautiful quality, and it was just fun to be able to do something that big and that size and that old, because even though it was pretty vintage, it still looked beautiful. The coloring was lovely. There really wasn't anything wrong with it. There's maybe a couple faded pieces, but that's about it. It was absolutely stunning. So we stayed up way too late, like 1 a.m., trying to finish the puzzle, because at 1 a.m. is when they closed the casual puzzling room and locked it for the night. So we were really speeding towards the end. We did end up completing the puzzle, I think around like 12:40 a.m. So it was a very late night puzzling, but it was such a great experience to puzzle with everybody and work on this giant puzzle, which was pretty tricky to do because some pieces were on the one side of the table, some pieces were on the other side of the table, and so it was really fun to puzzle with everyone, puzzle with Karen, just in general, do that beautiful puzzle. So it was definitely an experience that I probably would never have been able to do if I had not attended this event. So that was my Friday. It was pretty busy, but other things that you could have done that I just wasn't able to because I didn't have the tickets was, one, you could attend a scroll saw cutting class, which I had done at Puzzle Jam South, so I didn't have the need to really do it again. It is a great idea to try it yourself because you really get to learn just how tricky it can be. Some people are naturals and they just zip through. Me, on the other hand, is awful. So I don't think that's a skill I'm going to be mastering anytime soon, but it was really fun that they offered it. And they also offered some tours at the Play Museum, which I also was expecting to do earlier in my trip, but it just didn't happen. But I heard amazing things about that, and I think if I had more time, I would have done it. So I think that was something I missed out on. But let's move into Saturday, because Saturday was also a very busy day, super fun. filled day. So we started off the day with the presentations. So there was a few of the presenters that actually couldn't make it due to the chaos that happened with US travel. So there was quite a lot of people that you either late or couldn't attend at all because of the whole Delta airline American situation that happened. So a lot of them couldn't attend. So a couple of the presenters didn't make it, but we were able to still listen to a few other presentations, which were really informative. One is by Anne Williams. She is like a puzzle historian to the max. She knows so much history, and she's a hand-cut wooden puzzle maker as well. She's one of the original founders of Puzzle Parley. So I was right front and center because I was helping with the videos. It was so cool to hear about all of the history of Western New York puzzle history. Like, that was incredible to know all that information. I feel like I learned so much. I actually did get to film it because I was right there filming for Puzzle Parley themselves. And so I may put it up on my Patreon in case you want to hear the presentation. It will eventually also be up on the Puzzle Parley's YouTube channel. So it was just a great thing to attend if you are a puzzle lover and you like history. It was so informative to listen to her and all the ins and outs of different brands. I learned about Tuco. I learned about the start of Buffalo Games and other wooden puzzle makers that maybe you had never heard of. Like, it was so fun to listen to. And we also got to have a presentation from the owner who creates infinity puzzles, which I was able to play around with one of the ones that he had. And I also was able to film his presentation as well. And that was a really cool concept. I will have to put them on somewhere, probably my Patreon page, just as like a free one. I don't feel comfortable putting it here on YouTube. I will say Puzzle Parley definitely gives a lot more of the history and education aspect in this type of event, so I really appreciated attending both of the lectures. So after lunch, and I feel like this is the thing that kind of gave me a lot of anxiety, was the sales of puzzles. So throughout the whole event, you're like looking at this like blocked off area where all the puzzle makers have their puzzle tables set up where you can shop puzzles. And it was a madhouse when it started right after lunch. It was absolutely wild. There were so many people in one little area trying to buy puzzles and walk around, and it could be kind of tight, especially if like people are like having conversations like in the middle of the aisle on both ends. You're like kind of stuck in the middle for a while. So for me, it was kind of wild and stressful in some cases. It was still a great option to buy some puzzles. Some people were just selling their own collections that were used, and then we had the hand cutters or the puzzle makers in general who were selling their collection. And so it was really fun to look at all the puzzles and see what else they had. And I was able to come home with a couple of them, including some that were in that puzzle exchange. So I pocket watched by Five Frog Woodworking. So this is one that's double-sided that I learned about on Friday, where they were talking about the puzzle exchange. I also got this one, which was the winner of the Puzzler's Choice Award, which is for by Nervous System. This one's called Eclipse Puzzle. So these ones were such great finds. I also just bought a couple other things, which I mentioned in that haul video, but I just want to show those because those are ones that were like extra special because they kind of talked about them at the event. So that was really fun. After the chaos of buying my puzzles and doing a little bit of casual puzzling in the puzzle room, I ended up being a part of the speed puzzling competition. So there was a good amount of people who were competing. I ended up not having a partner at the beginning, but it was really easy to find people to pair with. I ended up pairing with someone who was actually close to me. I actually met her in person once. Her name is Lauren, and we ended up puzzling with another puzzler, and I'll leave their stuff down below in case you want to follow them. But I had a great time. The first place winners, which was Karen's team, was in like 12 minutes, which is crazy. We ended up doing it in 21 minutes. So we were definitely in like the middle of the group, which was fine by me. It was still fun to puzzle, and the puzzle itself was stunning. So this one is by Artifact, which I realized is actually a Washington-based puzzle brand, which is just across the sound. So I think that might have to be a field trip someday. But this one is called Fiddling Cat, and it is super, super cute. I love that they had an extra surprise, which they kind of warned us about before we puzzled it. And it was a cool little twist at the end because you're like, where are all these pieces going? And then you figured it out. So after speed puzzling, it really was just casual puzzling on our end, where I was just sitting down with other puzzle makers. Some I had met at Puzzle Jam South, others were new, some were subscribers. It was just like all around just a good time Now, I had originally planned on attending Sunday, but that did not work out for me because of the whole flight debacle. I had a flight that was going from Boston to Seattle, but my flight that went from New York to Boston was canceled. So I realized that Saturday night. So I ended up having to book a car so I could drive from Rochester to Boston the next morning. So I just didn't have time to sit down and do other things in the morning. I had a very busy travel day the next day, but it was such a great event, and it was good to just like learn about wooden puzzle history, be with puzzle friends, casually puzzling, especially after the craziness that happened during my main trip. So it was nice to just like sit down, casually puzzle, and meet people. So I really enjoyed it. If ever you have a puzzle event that's near you, I just recommend going. If you are nervous about going by yourself, it's so easy to make puzzle friends because you can just sit down and puzzle with somebody and you instantly have something to talk about. And it's just a great way to connect with people and community within the puzzle industry. So if you are ever nervous, just don't be. I'm someone who's an extreme introvert, and I still love attending these events to meet other people and find people with a like hobby. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. I'll link the page for Puzzle Parley down below in case you're curious about following them and learning more about when the next one is. They don't do it every year. Maybe they'll do it in a few years, but it was a great time to attend. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video and this little quick recap. If you're liking these puzzle event style videos, I have one about nationals that I'll link down below. And I'm also attending another puzzle event just this week. So it's a busy couple of months of puzzle events, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.